Okay, so this is going to be just a really quick rant on programming style. I don't like making these, and I try to keep my nose out of telling people how to do other things, because I like to believe everybody can do whatever they want. But this one came up on Twitter, and I hate the reasoning behind people wanting to get rid of it. So for a good while, this is how we've been doing things. If we wanted to do an interface, we would do like name of the interface. A lot of people keep arguing that the eye looks disgusting, ugly, whatever, that we don't need to make the distinction because our technology that we currently have allows us to distinguish between it really. And they also point out that Java uses this. This is interface how Java likes to do all their interfaces. They don't have the eye. And that's fine. They treat things more like data objects and they treat them like interfaces. Stuff is not designed to be API driven, their stuff is like data driven or something, but there's probably even a bigger story behind that. It probably could just come back down to the standardization of using I came out after they started doing it. But when I usually work on all my code, all of my APIs use the letter I. Is a really quick and easy distinction to tell things apart. And people argue like, hey, you're in IntelliJ, you get the little symbol with the I in it, that tells you it's an interface, and then it's colored green, so you can tell the difference. But what if I was colorblind? I'm not going to see those colors as easily. I'm going to see different various layers of gray. If I'm even partially colorblind, I may see this color as blue or something. I don't know exactly how that works, as I'm not really colorblind. I've only got partial damage in my left eye, which prevents me from seeing certain shades of red. But I always like to support people who are colorblind and stuff. I like believe that disabled people should be thought about when defining standards for anything. And then another big thing comes to thought is what if somebody's completely, utterly blind and they're using text-to-speech? They're not going to be able to tell the difference between an interface if you letter I. So here's a big thing. So if I had an interface called iFurnace, and this interface is designed as an API layer to give access to furnace, say furnace functions for a house. And it's applied to an object called furnace. And then there's even an object called abstract furnace. Now, this is a prefab, of course. Prefab minimal functionality. So it provides minimal functionality, and this has got full functionality and accessibility coded into it. So now, if I'm blind, and there are programmers out there that are blind that actually program, they can use the computer just like we do, except they have software that reads everything on the screen off to them and tells them where everything is. And of course, they may not use a mouse either. They may like hit tab to get access to everything. As you can fully access your entire computer without the mouse. People think that's impossible. No, you can do it. I used to do it all the time. All you have to do is just hit tab. Alt-tab will give you your list of windows. Tab will get you to various things. And now, of course, IntelliJ doesn't have very good support for tabbing, but there's probably a way to get through it with tabs. So this is like pretty much what I do, and I treat this as a standard. You name the object furnace. The name of the object should be the same name as your interface normally, unless you're applying some weird interface. And then you should always put abstract in front of your prefabs. But what people want to do is they want to get rid of that I. So now you've got furnace. Well, now this is now the same exact name. But what the difference may be is this may be in my com.api package. This may be in my com.core package. So I won't have any compiling errors using them. And then when I went to go hit implements, I would have to do com.api.furnace in order to get that to work. That way it compiles in Java. But using a text-to-speech reader, now I hear furnace. I hear furnace implements furnace. And I go, what? That's not also the big thing. One of the big things that was also pointed out is, let me find my Twitter real quick, is a few people pointed out that we don't need to make a distinguishment. That's like, hey, we actually pretty much do. Let's see. And this guy points out a pretty good thing is it's serializable. That's, yeah, Java doesn't like to use that. Hold on. I want to find exact tweet here. We'll get back to somebody. Like this guy, this is main ideal of not doing that is you shouldn't need to make a distinguishment. It's like, hey, I did the comments like, hey, you add I, it's 1 second of extra work to save 5 seconds of thought. Because when I look at a class file, I look at the word first, then the color sinks into my head, and my brain goes, oh, green is the color. I actually haven't correlated the colors of things yet to what they are. I've never done that. I've always correlated the word. What does the word mean? That's how I program everything, because I switch between IDEs, and I switch my visuals in my IDEs a lot. So this, like, I got this visual right here. My interfaces are the same color as my classes. I would have to change those colors in order to distinguish them, if that's what the guy's like, hey, you should use colors codes. A lot of people say you should use color codes, because that's what they do. But one big thing is he said you shouldn't need to distinguish it, but distinguishing is really important. Because now we go back up to my example up here. You know how I have abstract? I distinguished a prefab with the word abstract. Now I come down here and I just now say, hey, you don't need to distinguish abstract. It's ugly. I don't need it. I shouldn't need to distinguish the difference between my prefab and my existing class. Now we've got furnace extends. We'll say com.prefab.furnace implements com.api.furnace. Now we have no difference between anything. And now one of the other comments was brought up is that we should use. So this is what somebody. Got a lot of more comments in here than I really should. Yeah, this went on for a while on Twitter, and I'm upset by it on the simple thought process is that people. I look at this when everybody brings up arguments like I shouldn't do this. They're literally saying I'm lazy and I don't want to do it because I'm lazy. You can come up with as many excuses as you want, like why you shouldn't be doing something. But if it comes down to the amount of work takes 1 second versus the amount of bitching that you put up, you could have spent 1 second to put the letter I in there. And the big thing is that APIs are not designed for you to use. They're designed for you to help other developers access your stuff. So you need to think about other developers first, not yourself. And code, and especially when designing an API is not meant to be aesthetic. A lot of people are like, hey, an eye looks disgusting in front of it. There's no aesthetics to an API. An API should be solid and designed to be interpreted very easily. I should be able to look at something and go, hey, this is exactly what it is, without a question of doubt. I shouldn't go, well, wait, what is this? And then I have to then open the class file and it goes, oh, it's an interface. And then I have to go then look at their Java docs. I mean, if they're removing the I, then there's a high probability that they're removing Java docs too and being lazy. It's like, oh, I don't need to add Java docs. They make the class file look ugly. That's where that mentality heads to. I mean, I know I'm snowballing and fear-mongering on that part, but people who like to do that like to literally say, I'm too lazy. And then where's the thought? Yeah, right here. This guy disagrees with my thought process. It's like JDK is inconsistent with itself, and also it's important to add the I to differentiate from prefab. He's like, I disagree. The prefix is just an ugly thing from .NET. Interfaces should just be named X-able. Now this is completely wrong. Although this will work in some cases, this does not work in all cases. So I use these two interfaces in a lot of my code for Minecraft. Now, what he's basically saying, actually, it's I rotation. Yeah, rotate. Whatever. If I remove the eyes from him and add his able, I then have decided that these two classes are going to be the same. These will be iRotatable and rotatable. It's changing the meaning. Because it's not that I can call it iRotationable. Or actually, iRotationable actually would work. Doesn't sound that bad. It changes the meaning. So, rotationable. That is basically somebody look at that like, hey, oh, he forgot his tense on his word. He meant rotatable. And they may now think that this class, which is what it would sound, they thought it would sound like, is like, hey, this is used for set rotation. And then they'll look at this class and be like, hey, this is also used for set rotation. When in fact, this class is used for get roll, get pitch, and get, I forgot, yeah. And then this class is used for set rotation, forward direction in this case. I actually have another class that is literally a mirror of rotation. Because what I also use is I have two versions of this one. I have this class. I also have a forward direction version, which is like I tile rotation, which literally goes get rotation and we'll return forge direction. And moving to this type of system where I get rid of this, it adds confusion, because now I'm saying rotationable, rotatable, and you don't know what's going on here. And we take the same ideal here. Like I say I have iMachine. This is denoted to add basic functionality like repair, get repairs needed. And then I change it to machinable. And I'd be like, hey, maybe this is applied to machines that can be machined. So it'll be like drill pattern is what somebody may think it has on there, when it doesn't. That's not what it's there for. So then a bolt doesn't work. And you can take the same thing to like say inventory, and then it's inventoryable. It's like you may be thinking I can do like store item, when in fact inventory is designed to like do get item instead. There's nothing there saying you can store item. But when you hear inventoryable, that means like, hey, I should be able to inventory this item. Actually, it'll be get inventory ID is what somebody may think this thing has, because it'll be like inventoryable. This must be a stockroom interface that you apply to items that can be put in a stockroom. And it's like that doesn't make sense. That confuses people further. It's literally the I is used for interfaces because it's easy. You don't have to think about it. I can go like anything, object. It's, you understand by default, as soon as that I is there, that is an interface. It's the same mentality here. You know when something has abstract, it's a prefab. You know when something has an object, it's usually a data structure. When you see the word data, you also think it's a data structure. When you see database, think it's related to a database. You see entry, you almost immediately think it's an item on a list. You see element, you almost immediately think it's an entry somewhere. It's the same mentality you even think about, like if you see list, you know that's a list of items. You see array, that's an array thing. It's the same mentality as that. What if I start changing things like I say, I had some int thing and I called it pickles. And then went like 10. Now, if I was going through your list of variables and say I had like some method like public void get pickle count, and then I see you reference the variable pickles, or I see like system.out.print line pickles. I'm gonna see this method, and if I didn't say find your thing, because this is even a worse thing I find when I'm looking at other people's code. I'll see people take this, remove this, and they'll put it at the bottom of their class file, and I never get why that happens. And it happens more than it should, especially when people are making prefabs. It is really annoying. But if I go look at your method and I see like say actually this would be called like print pickles, but if I see print pickles and I see the variable pickles, I may think this is an integer value saying how many pickles you have, because you didn't denote what it was, when in reality this should be array pickles, and then I would immediately, okay, that's an array. The same mentality works on everything. It's a naming convention style. It's a way of, when I'm looking at your code, I immediately know what you're doing. Because if you start doing stuff like that, like if we start getting to the laziness ideal, like I'm going to make things look, I believe, looks aesthetically right. This is not to say that you can't have freedom with your code. This is saying that, hey, you need to really think about when you're designing, especially an API for somebody else, what they need. What are they going to be using it for? How are they going to be viewing it? If they look at it and they go, and they have to think for more than a couple seconds when looking at your API, design your API wrong. You've made it so that it's too hard to use, and this happens all the time. Like I've actually walked into people's code and I've seen them do like this. This will be an interface and it's con. I don't know what the hell that is. I see con and it's applied on so many different objects in so many different ways, and it contains like its method structure would be like m like integer g.integer be like s dot this, and you'll see stuff like that. And the person will like argue saying, hey, this I like the way this looks. When in reality, after re-engineering his code, its component was the what it should have been named, and then it's get size, and he just uses an integer for whatever reason, and it was like move in an integer, and then I don't even remember what the yeah, the s was size, so the s returned your size. This is actually that was he used a G and it was like set size, and it made no sense for me to me at all. And I see this happen all the time, and you really need to think about conventions when you're doing stuff. I mean, they teach you this stuff in college, they teach you this stuff in books, and people want to ignore it simply because like, hey, it's ugly and other people don't do it. Other people do a lot of things that you shouldn't do. People jump off bridges, that means you should not jump off bridges. People cheat on their homework, you should not cheat on your homework. People skip out and don't work on their projects, people get lazy, people screw users over. You shouldn't do that either. You should do things in a way that maximizes what you're doing. And in coding, coding's a lot about efficiency. You really should maximize efficiency by focusing on helping other developers. I mean, you don't have to make perfect code. I mean, I'm not going to force people to make code. As I said in the very beginning of this video, I will never force somebody to do something to their code that they don't want to do. But I will always tell them, hey, this is why you should do it. And if they don't listen, I'll just move on. I don't care. Well, unless I'm using their API. I mean, so many APIs that I'm currently using that are not designed the way I like them, and I'll voice my opinion till the end of the days, because I believe that certain APIs should be designed in certain ways to make sure that flexibility is there. Like I'm working on Industrial Craft API. There's no way to really simulate power input. This is something I'm really used to. I mean, it doesn't need to have it, but it would be nice if it did. There's also no way to guarantee that the amount of energy you dumped in the machine was actually accepted, so you can easily waste energy. There's no way to check to make sure energy was drained out of a machine. Then you go on to the flip side. You got working on Resonant Flux is the name of the API from Thermal Expansion. Their API is actually a lot better. I can simulate, I can check, I can do everything. I have no way to get the exact amount of energy stored inside of a machine and then remove 100% of the energy. Their API is designed to be locked down in such a way that the internal code on somebody's machine can say, hey, you can only take 100 joules of energy out of my machine, or actually 100 flux of energy out of my machine, but then my machine can hold 100 giga RF. And if I wanted to drain all 100 giga RF, or not giga, like peta or something, if I wanted to do that, I would literally spend 20 minutes of CPU cycles just repeatedly calling drain, 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 until it was all gone. Of course, I get around this with reflection and ASM and stuff, but I really shouldn't have to. But ignoring that, we're going to stop this video. I could rant all day long about coding methodology. I mean, after all, I've been sitting in 6 years in college studying it. Plan to even go further and work on my master's and PhD. Yeah. See you all. Hope you actually learned something from this. If not, whatever.